Hey guys, this is lesson 2. I think I figured out the different trends for this. It kind of drove me crazy, and this is actually my second video because I recorded it on my other laptop and no audio is recorded. So I hope I don't forget anything. Thinking I already said it, so let's just go into it. So when we see rearrangement, this is going to be like the hardest one. So this is the one we're going to think a little more. So I'll start by drawing my propane, and then I'll add my 2 methyls, and I'll add my oxygen at the side. So when we just have elimination, that means that when we take off the oxygen, there's going to be a hydrogen here that can form a double bond with this positive carbon. But since it says rearrangement, this one isn't able to do that. So we'll go ahead and rearrange everything so that we can create that bond. So I'll go ahead and remove that oxygen, and then I can go ahead and, since these are all, well, they're all methyls, so I'm just going to go ahead and move whichever one. It doesn't matter because they're all the same. And then I'll just move it over here. Arrange. And then now, with the positive carbon that I just made, I'm going to look for which hydrogen I need to take. So I'm going to take the one with the least amount of hydrogens. So I have 3 here, 3 here, and 2 here. So like he said on his video, the poor get poorer. So I'll take this one. Oops. Oh, and I do recommend watching his video. I did have to watch it several times though, before I really understood what I was doing. But I hope this helps as much as it can. Okay, and then you usually want to check for like an E or Z conformation, but since we have 2 methyls on the side, it's kind of irrelevant, so we can just leave it. And then you also want to check that your carbons have the right amount of bonds. Sometimes we'll leave like a hydrogen, or won't do a double bond for some reason, so just double check on that before submitting. Okay, we have another rearrangement. So I'll draw my butane. Start with the easiest thing you know first, and I'll jump to the front because these are pretty simple. I'll add a methyl at the 2 position and 2 methyls at the 3 position, and then I have at the 2 position are 1,1-dimethyl ethyl, so that is actually a tertiary carbon. I'll add my oxygen and my hydrogens, and with these I like to take off my hydrogens, and now I'm going to remove the oxygen. That leaves me with my positive carbon, and I want to put, it goes from tertiary, secondary to primary, so I can take either one of these. I'll just go ahead and take this one, and then let's just move this over. Arrange, and then I'll go ahead and add my hydrogens. So now I have this positive carbon, and this is what determines where I'm going to do my double bond. So I see this carbon doesn't have any hydrogens to share, so this isn't going to be the one. This has 3 and this one has 2. So I'm going to move one of these to create a double bond. I'll go ahead and delete that. And then I'll check the conformation. So I see that it is Z conformation because the highest priorities are on the same side. So I'm actually going to switch it because this creates steric interactions, and we don't want that. So I'm going to try to move it as best I can. Let's see if that worked. Okay, I'm not going to double check my bonds because I think they're decent. And let's see if that's right. Okay. This one just takes a little practice and just know the trends, and I'm trying to show you. Good, we're getting all, these are the hardest ones, the rearrangements. So I got my butane, I've got my methyl at the 2 position and the 3 position, and then I have a 1 methyl ethyl, so my secondary carbon. And I'll add my oxygen at the 1 position, add my hydrogens and hit arrange. I'll take off my hydrogens now, or hide them, and then I'll go ahead and remove the oxygen. I'm gonna want to put a secondary carbon over here because it goes from tertiary, secondary to primary. So I'll just move that, and then I'll move this over. Okay, I'm showing my hydrogens now. Oops, I actually added hydrogens, so don't do that. Make sure you don't press this. If you already have your hydrogens, you want to press this, just to keep an eye on this positive carbon that we made. So I'm now going to look for where I'm going to put the bond. I have this 3 hydrogens here, 2, and then 1. This is the least one, so I'm going to go ahead and create a bond between those 2 carbons. I'll go ahead and delete everything left on the canvas. And I don't have to check for an E or Z conformation because I have 2 methyls on the right side. So you just want to double check the bonds. Carbon only has 4 bonds. Okay, so here's the elimination. So when I was doing the homework, I was doing everything trying to rearrange, like everything, and that's why I kept getting it wrong. With the elimination, you don't have to rearrange anything. So this is actually a super easy one. I'm gonna draw it like this, and that's all we have actually. I don't want to explain the elimination on here because it's just too easy. So let's try to get a better one. Okay, we have another rearrangement. I'll start with my butane. And then I have a methyl at the 2 position, 2 methyls at the 3 position. I have a methyl ethyl, my secondary, at the 2 position. I can already see this tertiary. This is probably the one that I'm going to move because we're doing a rearrangement. And then lastly, I'm going to add my oxygen. Add my hydrogens, hit arrange and fit. I'm going to hit arrange again because it takes too long. And then I'll go ahead and hide my hydrogens. So I'm going to use my heterolytic function and remove that oxygen. And then, like I said, it's tertiary, secondary, then primary. So I'm going to move this tertiary molecule over here. And I'll just move the whole thing. I don't think you necessarily have to do this. I just like to keep everything uniform. Arrange. And now I'm going to show my hydrogens so I can find that positive carbon that I created. I see it over here. So now I'm going to look for the hydrogen, the carbon with the least amount of hydrogens, which I see here because this one has 2, this one has 3, this one's just 1. So I'll use my heterolytic function and go ahead and grab that and do a double bond, and then I'll delete that hydrogen and that little OH molecule I had. Hit arrange. Let me fit it to the canvas. And then I don't have to check for the E or Z because I have 2 methyls on the right side. So this should be good to go, granted that all of the carbons have the right amount of bonds. Ooh, I didn't check our conformation. Oh, okay. Guys, make sure to check your conformations because sometimes it doesn't happen like that. By chance, I got lucky, but I don't think I checked my conformation, so make sure you check your conformations. We're doing another rearrangement, so I'll do my butane. I have a methyl at the 3 position, and then I have 2 methyl ethyls at the 2 position, and then I have my oxygen at the 1 position. Add my hydrogens, hit arrange fit, hit arrange again because it takes too long. And I'm gonna turn my hydrogens off, and then I'm gonna start removing that O. And I can just move this one on the bottom to that positive carbon that I created, which then created another one. Okay. Now I'm going to show my hydrogens. Okay, so this is the positive one that I made. And these both have the least amount, so I haven't encountered this yet. So we'll just see what it turns out to be. Let me just make sure that I made the right, yeah. Okay, I have to do that all over again. Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I got the right. Okay, so let's just do this one and see what happens. I'll go ahead and delete the hydrogen and the OH off the canvas. Okay, there's no priorities because I have 2 methyls on this side. So let's see if it really mattered which hydrogen I took off of there. Okay, so it doesn't, just if there's 2 that have equal amount of hydrogens, then you can pick either one. Okay, perfect, we have the elimination. So I'll put butane, and I have a O at the 2 position, add my hydrogens, and this time I'm gonna check my conformation, put my hydrogen in the back, highest priority, second, third, it's going counterclockwise, so I'm gonna press mirror, highest priority, second, third, it's going right there to the right, so we have the R. Now I'm gonna remove that oxygen, and then from the positive carbon, we're gonna look for the carbon that has the least amount of hydrogens. So we're doing the same rule, we're just not doing any rearrangements. So this one has 3, and this one has 2. So I'll take the bond from this carbon. I'll go ahead and delete the hydrogen and the OH, hit arrange, and I see it's anti-conformation, and I want to leave it that way because we don't want any steric interactions. And so if this methyl was on the bottom, you'd want to change it to the top so that these 2 are opposite of each other. So the elimination ones are actually pretty easy. I kept getting them wrong because I was doing all of them like rearrangements. So just read the question and make sure you're doing the right one. So we're doing an elimination again, no rearrangement. I'm doing my butane, adding my methyl to the 3 position, and then my oxygen at the 1 position. There's no RS, so I can leave it like that. Okay, I'll remove this oxygen. And this is the only one neighboring carbon, so I can just take this bond. Either one is fine. And then delete, delete. And there's no easy or conformation because I have 2 hydrogens on that side. I really hope this helps. I drove myself crazy looking for these different trends, and I think I got it down to science. Okay, rearrangement, elimination. So this one requires a little work. We'll start with the butane. I'll add my 2 ethyl. I'll add my 2 methyls at the 3 position, and then I'll add my 1 methyl ethyl. It's a secondary carbon. And my oxygen at the 1 position. Add my hydrogens, hit arrange again because it takes too long. and then I'll hide my hydrogens. Okay, I'll go ahead and remove the oxygen. I have my positive carbon here. This one doesn't have any hydrogens, which is why it's a rearrangement. And I'll look for a tertiary carbon. I've got one right over here. Tertiary always comes before secondary or primary. So if we didn't have the tertiary one, then we would want to use the secondary one. But we have it, so it's the one we want to use. Okay, now I'm going to show my hydrogen so I can use this to figure out where I'm going to put that bond. Okay. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. And I made that whole video and it didn't even work. So I'm just going to delete this because it's getting in the way of my canvas. So I have my positive carbon here. I've got 2 hydrogens here, 2 hydrogens here, and 1. So this is where I'm going to make that bond. I'm going to grab this, attach it there, and then go ahead and delete that hydrogen, hit arrange, and lastly I'm going to look for an E or Z conformation. But I see that we have 2 methyls on the right side, so that should be good to go. Okay, elimination. We've got our propane. We've got a methyl at the 2 position. And I'll go ahead and work this one out. It's like super easy when it's just propane. But I'll work it out. So we're gonna just remove this. It's an elimination, so we know there's a hydrogen that we can use. So I'm just gonna grab that bond, attach it to this carbon, and then I'm gonna delete that hydrogen and the OH. Arrange, and we're good to go. Okay, I believe that was it. So be patient with this homework. Just remember that if it says elimination, all you're going to do is look for that hydrogen next to the carbon that had the OH removed. And then if you see rearrangement, that's when we're going to move around the molecules, and you're going to go from tertiary, secondary to primary. I'll add these tips on the bottom of the video just so you can have them. And I think you should be good to go. All right.